Welcome to One Heart, One Mind. And I would like to introduce you all and introduce myself. I just met her. To our fabulous new musician, Rhonda Danae. Did I say that correctly? Is it Danae?
You did. You did.
And
yes.
she comes to us she knows the Levins, and she knows Tony, and she knows Jackie. She's just one of the gang. So we're going to welcome her and have her kick us off this morning with a song. So welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, sunrise. Welcome to another day. Awaiting each surprise. Let love lead the way. When challenges arise, breathe and simply say, return to love, to peace of mind. Return to love, to the ease inside. Turn and return to love. Turn and return to love. Be present and trust. Welcome to the here and now. Take a pause if you must. Everything will work somehow. Each moment is a gift. Expect good and allow. Then return to love, to peace of mind. Return to love, to the ease inside. Turn and return to love. Turn and return to love. Just return to love, to peace of mind. Return to love, to the ease inside. Turn and return to love. Turn and return to love. Return to love. Happy Sunday.
Woohoo! That was great. Thank you. And perfect theme, because that's really what we're talking about today, about pulling ourselves back into love over and over again. We're talking a little bit about forgiveness, and that's what forgiveness is. Thank you for that. Thanks for kicking us off on the right note. And I would like to welcome our practitioner of the day, Jean Pirkl, who's going to do our opening prayer, our invocation. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Jackie, it's so nice to have you here. Thank you for being here. It's really a blessing to have you here at our service this morning. I'm Rhonda. I'm so sorry. Yep. I'm thinking, yeah, this is I'm actually looking at the wrong place, but yes, Rhonda, thank you. It's just such a gift. Her voice is amazing. So I really appreciate it. So if you would all join me in prayer. I just take in this nice deep centering breath. It is through this simple unified act of breathing in that I recognize this freedom and joy of that spiritual presence that I call God. Spirit creates from its own essence, has no beginning and no end. The divine is limitless and not fixed by its creative expression. Each and every one of us are linked together in this unified field with God at the center of our being. I know that each and every one of us are free from false beliefs, past beliefs, and experiences, and I choose freedom, love, and prosperity for myself and for all beings. And I know what I, as spirit, clearly want for my own divine expression, and I rest in gratitude for this knowing. And I know that this is so for each and every one. I'm so grateful for this ever-changing life, and I embrace its creative nature. Thank you, God, for this life of good. Please join me in saying, and so it is. So I had, Michelle, I'm going to risk sharing my screen, and usually there's kind of a debacle that happens. So if you could take it back from me after I share it, because I get lost in my myriad of monitors here.
No worries. Yeah, I got you covered, Jen.
Okay. Yeah. So with today's talk, I just wanted to, I'm a poem fan, as you, some of you know, so I'm going to go ahead and read this poem that I found that I thought was really well suited for today's talk. And there we go. It's a nautical poem. It's called "'Tis the Set of the Sail" by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. But to know every mind there openeth a way and way and a way. A high soul climbs the highway, and the low soul gropes the low. And in between the misty flats, the rest drift and fro. But to every man there openeth a highway and a low, and every mind decideth the way his soul shall go. One ship sails east and the other west, by the self same winds that blow. 'Tis the set of the sails and not the gales that tells the way we go. Like the winds of the sea are the waves of time, as we journey along through life, 'tis the set of the soul that determines the goal, and not the calm or the strife. Okay, now this is the, oh, here, oh, I don't believe it. It worked. Well, anyway, I thought that kind of, to me, it resonated because of the topic about, you know, this that we all kind of can get in this sense of stuckness. And truth is that we all get to kind of set our own course. And that's kind of one of the amazingly powerful things about our life, is it's all through choice and our own expression. So in any way, turn it over to you, Michelle.
Oh, that was perfect. Yes. I'm going to share July's affirmation.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Here we go.
Yeah. So let's, ooh, that's beautiful. Sharon, reading this, it's the, I have the power to live the life of good. My power is from on high. It cannot be taken from me. It will not leave me desolate. Power flows through me and it is in me. It is my power and is continually present. I am the power to live, by Ernest Holmes.
He was quite the poet too, Jimmy.
Yes, he was.
Oh, love that. Thank you so much. By the way, Jean, that opening prayer was absolutely gorgeous.
Really, oh, thanks.
It was beautiful.
Thank you.
So, Rhonda, back to you, sweetie. Would you like to do a song to open the door for the message?
Sure.
Yeah.
Every morning, the light keeps getting brighter as I wake up to the truth. Every day, I'm feeling so much lighter, and the world seems fresh and new. What I was taught and the way that I thought stopped serving me a long time ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Each day I start anew, and so I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to such sadness. Today is the day I walk away. Every day I walk away. Every morning brings a new beginning. By grace, another day to be. I awaken to the sun upon me shining, lighting the way for me to see things that I sought and the things that I thought stopped serving me a long time ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Of yesterday I'm letting go. Yeah, I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the less than that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from that path that led me to such sadness. Today is the day I walk away. Every day I walk away. Today is the day I walk away.
Wow. Wow, it was beautiful. How perfect an opening for today's talk, for speaking truth to circumstances. That is perfect. Oh, beautiful. What a lovely voice you have. Thank you so much for that. That was just lovely. So again, I want to welcome you to One Heart, One Mind, Center for Spiritual Living, and our online Sunday service. And again, I always want to include everyone, so I want to make sure that whoever's on the Zoom call, whoever's watching on Facebook Live or the YouTube video afterwards, I want you to know that you're welcome, and I'm glad you're connecting with us. So as I've said, this month's theme is speaking truth to circumstances, and I love this theme. I know I said that last week, but I still love it this week too. This is really for us where the rubber meets the road as metaphysicians, as people who believe that the invisible, the mind of God, the quantum field is what creates the visible or the physical realm, which are human world of circumstances and experiences. That's where it all takes place, the goodness of it all. And last week I spoke about circumstances being the effect or the end result of the creative process, and that in and of themselves, circumstances don't have any power. Even though when we're right in the middle of an unwanted circumstance, it really feels like they do. So this week, I'd really like to take a look at how we engage with these challenging circumstances. How do we look at them? How do we respond to our circumstances? What lens are we looking at them through? What perspective? What are we looking from? I talked about that in today's meditation, about looking from certain circumstances, or from the stability of the divine onto certain circumstances. And I want to talk about how we hone our skills of conscious awareness. We talk about that a lot, of being consciously aware of what we're thinking and feeling and doing as we walk through our daily lives, on this really interesting human journey. How do we ask ourselves as we're moving through our day, what am I looking from? How am I seeing these circumstances that are parading in front of me through my life? And it's tricky being human. For most of my life, I saw the world around me through the lens of my white middle-class culture, my gender, my socioeconomic status, and all of the things that I had learned from my very well-meaning parents and teachers and relatives, and also from all of my previous experiences. I judged things as good or bad based on what I'd learned to be true and to be the way things are, just the way things are. They've always been that way. That's the lens through which I saw everything. Even though, I grew up as a teenager in the late 60s and the early 70s, and I kind of fancied myself a hippie, but really when I think back on it, aside from smoking some pot and wearing torn jeans and a lot of denim, I really lived a pretty conventional life. I didn't veer off the well-beaten path too much, really. My patterns of thinking and feeling being were pretty well established within me. And even when my life wasn't looking that great, I had no idea how to change it. I had no idea how to change me or the world I was experiencing. It really wasn't until I began attending what was then called the Church of Religious Science in the early 90s that I even thought about how my thinking affected the world around me, not to mention how it created the world that I was experiencing. It wasn't really until I encountered the science of mind philosophy that I really started thinking about my thinking, and what I was consciously thinking and feeling. And even then, I hadn't even begun to think about what was going on in my subconscious mind. Not yet. That kind of came later on down the line when my understanding expanded a little bit. But at that point in my life, I definitely experienced the world as happening to me rather than me happening to the world. I pretty much lived in victim mode, after all, that was how my parents lived and that was what I was taught. And I have to say, in hindsight, which is always 2020, right? The most important gift that I have ever received in my life is the idea that I am empowered to change my life by changing my thoughts, by changing the way I think, and by changing the way I feel, and by changing the way I show up. This idea literally changed the trajectory of my life. And in hindsight, I am so grateful. In this moment, I am so grateful. This was a turning point for me to move out of the way things had always been and the way I expected my future to go into the possibility of what life could be. That was amazing. That was life-changing. And I wonder if you've all had similar experiences. And when we revel in that awakening of, oh my gosh, I'm empowered, it's pretty amazing. It helps us to move out of that old stale thinking, which exactly what Rhonda sang about to us just a few moments ago. So I was thinking about how we hand down thoughts from generation to generation. Do you know what train tracks, what the width of train tracks are in the US? Do you know why train tracks are a certain width? Don't feel bad, I had no idea either. The US standard distance between the rails on a train track is 4 feet, 8.5 inches, an extremely odd number. But that's the way they were built in England. And the English expatriates designed the US railways. All the railroad tracks were set at that distance because that's what these English expatriates had always done. And the English used the same tools to build their railroads that they had used to build their horse-drawn wagons and carriages. And the wagons and the carriages had that particular spacing because they were built to fit the ruts of the old roads that ran across all of Europe, including England. And these old rutted roads were built to accommodate Roman chariots. They were built just wide enough to accommodate the width of 2 Roman war horses. So, I mean, it kind of boggles the mind. So the US standard railroad specifications were derived from the width of 2 Roman war horses. It's crazy because that's the way it always been. That's the way it was always done. That's the way it'll always be. And that's, and that's the rallying cry for the status quo that we've hung on to for way too long. But when we practice conscious awareness of what we're thinking and feeling and doing, we open the door to move out of what has always been to what is possible in infinite mind. We release those self-imposed limits that we've set on ourselves in our collective consciousness, and we move into what is possible. And what we can let go of the same little rails on the railroads and the ruts in the roads. It's possible to let go of that and to move into something new. I want to say yes to that, don't you? I don't know about you, but I have no idea what is possible. I can't even imagine it because I don't know what I don't know, but I do know how I want to feel. And I can move into how I want to feel and let that be the seed that I plant into creative law. I might not know how to get myself there, but I know how I want to feel once I do. I want to know how I feel right now. And establishing myself in how I want to feel right now will bring the experiences that continue to bring more and more of that same feeling. Ernest Holmes, bless his sweetheart, really said a lot of good stuff. Ernest Holmes told us that all of mankind, more or less, follows the pattern of the thought that we're immersed in. He also said that all advances in science and civilization happen by breaking down the beliefs that things have to be the way they are because that's the way they've always been. And he also told us that the laws of nature and the principles that govern life know nothing about precedents, about what has come before. And I found this really great quote in Living the Science of Mind, which is such a great book. Plain thinking, plain thought, as opposed to the science of mind, which is also great. Anyway, he wrote in Living the Science of Mind, at one time we used tallow candles, and now we use electric lights. There's nothing in nature that prohibited the world from having electric lights 10,000 years ago, but no one knew anything about them. When the day arrived on which somebody discovered the new possibility, the laws of nature complied and delivered the secret which made the new possible. I don't know what I don't know, but I can be open to the feeling of something new and something wonderful and some good flooding in. I could have consciously participated with creative law well before I was introduced to science of mind and changed my life completely. Just like I did after I discovered science of mind, but I didn't even know it was possible. I was completely hooked into believing that that's just how things are and that's just the way things always will be. But fortunately for us, life knows nothing about precedent. Principle is not bound by precedent. The law of cause and effect does not respond to what has come before unless we're still holding that. There is no law in the universe that wants to keep us stuck in old patterns and old ideas. On the contrary, life, God, is always looking for fresh new ways to express itself through its creation, through us, we're its creation. We've been given this incredible gift of being able to consciously live in two worlds. We are both human and divine. We live in the world of form, of physicality, which is a world of duality, right? Right, wrong, good, evil, us, them. It's a world of opinions and judgments and expectations, but we also live in the invisible realm, in our oneness with God, in our oneness with the infinite possibilities available to us in divine mind. This world is our true home, this invisible realm. It's the world of cause, and it pours itself into the world of effects. But it does that as we direct it by what we believe is possible. And if I don't know what is possible, I certainly know how I want to feel. Because like I said, I don't know what I don't know. The people that now have lights 10,000 years ago, people didn't know that was even possible, but we know how we want to feel. The inner world of cause allows us to move past any of these perceived barriers that we've created for ourselves, any arbitrary limits we've placed on ourselves. I've done that a lot. But that allows us, we are empowered to step into what is possible, even if we don't know how it's going to look. And that will shape and influence the world that we live in. One of my favorite quotes, and I've probably said this ad nauseum, I even know what page it was on. I thought about it as I was writing my topic, and I even knew the page number. It's page 37 of the Science of Mind textbook, where Holmes writes, "We are bound because we are first free. The power which appears to bind us is the only power in the universe that can free us. The law is impersonal. It works according to our belief, according to what we hold. We direct it. We're the ones. We set our own limits. We're the one who releases our limitations and move into what's possible in infinite mind. We're the ones who create within ourselves how we want to feel." So how do we do this? It sounds so easy, right? How do we use this power to set ourselves free? Well, let's review what we know. We know we're divine beings having a human experience. We know that it appears that we live in two worlds, even though it's actually one. We know that they work together. One is the cause and the other is the effect. We know that we're one with an infinite benevolent presence, aka God, Spirit, the all that is, whatever name you want to call it, in which all things are not only possible, but available. We know that as we connect with and build a conscious relationship with this infinite benevolent presence, that not only do we feel good, we feel great, but we know that when we align our thinking and our feeling with this presence and do it on a consistent basis, it becomes the loudest, most prominent voice in our head and the way that we feel. And we know that from this state of consciousness, we consciously participate with creative law to bring the good of this infinite, benevolent presence into every aspect of our lives. Because here's the catch, and I think this is really important. And for me, this was an idea that when I caught this idea, my life really started to excel. We don't create what we say we believe. We express who we are into the world. Our state of being becomes our experience in the world. We know that if we live to the best of our ability in a consciousness of love, first for ourselves and then for others, then our lives are flooded with love. If we live in a consciousness of abundance, if we live from the trust and the faith that there's enough for everyone, we create prosperity in our lives. And we know that if we live in a continual state of gratitude, then creative law floods into our lives so much more to be grateful for. We demonstrate who we are, not just what we talk about, but what we embody. That is the seed. That's the seed that gets planted into creative law, not just what our mouth is moving, not just what we say we believe. So how do we use all this to support us when we encounter circumstances that are really challenging. As I said before, sometimes when we're in the middle of a circumstance, it seems like it's got all the power. It's kind of like this. And I was just talking to my brother, Todd, who's my youngest brother of the 7 kids. And up until now, he's struggled with addiction. And here's what I said to him. I told him that what I had noticed about him is that he is either just sailing on cloud 9, not necessarily from the drugs, but because something good has happened to him in his life, something like he just got hired for a long-term construction job, which he did. So he's elated. But then on the flip side, he's down and depressed because the world has dealt him some terrible hand. His car broke down or he faced some other challenge. But living a life where we are consciously connected to our source, to the God within, standing on that foundation of strength, gives us a sense of constancy, a sense of stability and security. And then it's not about the highs and the lows of our emotional life around all of the fluctuations of life, which are bound to happen. We're not judging something as good or bad or, having to measure our personal contentment or happiness or joy by the fluctuations of life. Then it becomes about consistency. I'm standing on this solid foundation of God. This is the foundation of my life. The world will fluctuate, but the presence beneath life will not. This is where we build our foundation. This is the foundation on which we have to stand to engage with all of the other circumstances in our life. We can't let ourselves be tempted into believing that the outside world is the one that supports and sustains us. What did Jesus tell us? Lead us not into temptation. The temptation is to believe that the world of circumstances has any creative juice at all, But when we consciously and consistently and often go to that place within us where the creative juice really resides, as we build and nurture and cultivate this kind of unshakable foundation through our spiritual practices, not only do we begin to see the circumstances in our lives change, but we see the way in which we engage with the circumstances change as well. And we do this through our spiritual practices, through our meditation or spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, through our gratitude practices. And one of my personal favorites, forgiveness. Forgiveness work is just, I've really been focused a lot on my forgiveness work. When I look around the world right now, I see a lot of things that have risen up to be healed, things that are calling for our attention, and that we as a collective consciousness are being moved to look at, to move from an attitude of fear around the other and, oh my God, there's not enough, to an attitude of love, and this, in my humble opinion, is the definition of forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful spiritual tools we have because it moves us from living in a state of fear into a state of love. And when we encounter life from a state of love, the other things in our lives don't have any power over us. I always like to say, and I really love this saying, forgiveness is not for sissies. Forgiveness is not for the faint of heart. Forgiveness is advanced spirituality because forgiveness can be tricky. It's not an intellectual process. It might start out that way, but it's a function of the heart and not the head. And it's not a linear process either. You don't decide that you're going to forgive, whether it's yourself or someone else or an institution or a political figure or whatever it is, and then you're done. That's not the way forgiveness works. It's not a once and done. It's an ongoing process. Something comes up and we forgive it. Comes up again and we forgive it. Comes up again and we forgive it again. And so it goes. Of all the spiritual traditions, I think Christianity is the one that really meets forgiveness head on. The first thing that comes to mind for me when I think about forgiveness is that passage in Matthew where Peter asked Jesus, how many times must I forgive? I know I've shared this before, but I have this little book called The Message. It was put together by a man named Eugene Peterson, and it's his interpretation, but he's written this interpretation, paraphrased the Bible in contemporary language, and it's kind of fascinating, actually. And Peterson interprets this particular conversation between Peter and Jesus, and he says, what did he say? He said, at this point, Peter got up the nerve to ask, Master, how many times do I forgive a brother or sister that hurts me? 7? And Jesus replied, 7? Hardly. Try 70 times 70, meaning that there should be no limit on the amount of time or the number of times that we forgive. We should always be willing to forgive everyone, regardless of the circumstance, regardless of anything else. Forgiveness, it's a tricky business. I mean, what if someone that you really believe has injured you refuses to be sorry? Or they don't even think that they even did anything wrong? How can we forgive someone who isn't even sorry for something that we know injured us? How does forgiveness work then? It works when we keep in mind that forgiveness is never about someone else. It is always about us, and that we must be willing to release anything that keeps us in the bondage and the prison of resentment and hate, of fear, ultimately. We must be willing to release that to find the peace and the love that is within our own hearts and live that in our own lives, and then it won't matter what anyone else did, because it's not the truth. Forgiveness is a tricky business. I'm reminded of the last words of Jesus that he spoke while he was hanging there on the cross. He said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Hanging there on the cross, dying. People around him, the ones that helped hang him up there are throwing dice to see who gets his clothes. They're taunting him, spitting on him. And Jesus says, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. All I can say is, wow, that is powerful. That is the power of forgiveness. And it's interesting to note that Jesus doesn't say, he doesn't forgive the men themselves. He doesn't look down at them and say, oh, I forgive you. He says, forgive them, Father, for they know not what to do. He goes to a greater power than himself, the divine presence, to forgive the men. Jesus is aware that these men don't have any idea who they really are, and they don't know that that loving nature is within their being. So Jesus asked the divine presence, God, Spirit, to fill them with love, to forgive them, to move them from fear to love. He says they don't realize that what they're doing to him, they're doing to themselves. I think that is what a powerful lesson of forgiveness. So I'm wondering, and I invite you as well to wonder with me, can we call on this divine power and presence to help us forgive the circumstances that challenge us in our lives? Can we call on this divine power to assist us in being present with the challenge and just allow it to move us through it without judging it, without resisting it, without blaming anybody, without writing a whole story about it? I believe we can. I believe this power, this God, Spirit, the all that is always waiting for us to ask for its help, to ask for its love, to flood through our being, to get rid of any fear-based thinking that is still within us so that we can stand on the truth of our being, which is only love. So let's pray. I know that all there is God. I know that all there is this loving power and presence that created and runs and is the universal presence that is everywhere present, that we're all living within. I know that it is all that is and all that exists. And I know that each and every person that is on this call with me or within the sound of my voice, listening, hearing it, and even those that are not, that we all live within this divine presence. We're all here. And because that is true, because of our oneness and unity with this divine presence, we too are empowered and creative. We too are empowered to design and reflect the good, the benevolence, the beauty, the love, the compassion, the friendship of the divine out into our world. Thank you, God, for that. So I speak my word for and about every person, that there is a shift in our consciousness that knows only love. There is a shift in our consciousness that sees only the good, that says with deep resonance, forgive them, Mother, Father, God, the spirit of all, the presence of all life, for they know not who they are, but I do. In this moment, I am flooded with knowing who and what I am, and I reflect that out into the world. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit of life. Thank you for the ability to create and recreate and grow and expand and experience the benevolence, the beauty of life. So we move into great Thanksgiving, knowing that all is well. I know that the law catches fire with my words, with our feelings, with our knowing that we are God incarnate. Thank you, God, for that. So I just relax in that, knowing all is well. And I invite you to signify your agreement by saying with me, and so it is. And so it is. Okay, I got to get my bearings a minute. I was channeling that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Let's see, what are we doing next? Is Relaine on? Yes, Relaine. I hope Jack is feeling better, sweetheart. I'm so glad you were able to join us.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, what a powerful talk, Michelle. This is our time of giving to One Heart, One Mind, which is a very sacred feeling and holy feeling to give back for all that we receive so much from this community. So if you'd like to give to One Heart, One Mind, which you can do so very easily by donating to Venmo at One Heart, One Mind Center, or you can send it to our mailbox center, which Michelle will pick up. And the address is right there on the screen.
And you can take a picture of it. That's what.
Yeah, take a picture of it. All right. So thank you so much for your givingness. And here is the prayer. Sacred giving. Everything flows from the nature of God's good. We receive from this flow and we give from this flow. We give him gratitude and love. And we have faith in the infinite giving nature of spirit. And so it is.
And so it is.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Elaine. Thank you. So let's see. We'll come back to you in a few minutes, Elaine, with for the benediction. And in the meantime, I'm going to Yvonne.
Okay, here I am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We sure can, sweetheart.
Okay, Monday night from 6 to 6:20. Please join us on Zoom as we silently pray for One Heart, One Mind Center, yourself or one another. And the Zoom link is in the newsletter. Tuesday evening at our spiritual learning group, it goes from 6 to 7, and we're going to continue on discussion of part 2, the outside world is what it's called, of living untethered, gosh, by Michael Singer. And Michelle's holding up the book right now. The book is really interesting. And the first part, I found it to be really interesting. So we'll be working on part 2. And the book is available on Amazon. And Reverend Michelle has also put the reading of it, made it available online. So let's see. I have some reminders. One is about unexpected income, which I could say expected income. And it would be okay. You won't have any if you don't expect it, and look for it. And then check out Reverend Michelle's Facebook page, it's called Spiritual Recovery, A Journey of Positive Change. And it has little videos and things posted there for those that are on a journey of recovery. And there are a lot of people that I was reading something in the paper or something lately this week about someone who was, it was on Nextdoor, and someone was saying how screwed up their life had been and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, perfect person to recommend it to. And it's no big deal to recommend it. You can just write in there and say, try this. And so I think that's everything I've got today. I'm shorthanded today of noise.
I think you covered it. Thank you so much, Yvonne. You always do a great job. Appreciate it.
Perfect.
And now we're going to head back
Thanks.
to Elaine, who's going to do our closing prayer. And then Jackie can take us out with our final song.
All right. So I'm so grateful for this morning, for each and every one of you, for being here together in this beautiful circle of people, and for the wonderful music. I'm just so grateful for that. I'm very thrilled to have new musicians, and I'm so grateful for Reverend Michelle's talk on Jean Pirkl, of course, and her beginning prayers. And I'm just so grateful for Ernest Holmes and for the infinite benevolent consciousness that we live in, that we immerse ourselves in, and that we have the power to realize and know the thoughts that we're thinking, and that these thoughts that we're thinking create our states of being, our atmospheres. And then as we go forth, we can transform and transcend our circumstances. And then, so therefore, their circumstances are really gifts for us to move through with our states of being. And knowing that we have that benevolent presence of spirit always with us, always on our side, always, cheering for us. And so I'm so grateful for this morning, for everything that there is, and for each and every one of you. You're all special divine beings. And it's so great that we get to live in two worlds, the human world and the divine world, as one. And so thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, One Heart, One Mind. And so I release this prayer into the law with such gratitude in my heart. And I simply say with all of you, and so it is.
And so it is.
Oh, beautiful, Relaine. Thank you so much. That was lovely. I heard a couple of lines from the talks thrown in there. That's always fun.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to sum you up, Michelle.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Oh, God, that's funny. Anyway, Jackie, well, you remind us of Jackie, who we love, so that's a good thing. Rhonda.
Yes, I will tell her hello from you. Never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to just be. Cast away your chains of doubt and have the courage to be free. Don't cloud your eyes with others' lies. See only what you want to see. Then duplicate this simple truth and have the courage to be free. Open your eyes, you can fly. Open your eyes, you can fly. You can fly. You can fly. No, never be afraid to love. Never be afraid to just be. You got to cast away those chains of doubt you want to see, then duplicate this simple truth and have the courage to be free. Open your eyes, you can fly. Open your eyes, you can fly. You can fly. You can fly. Open your eyes, you can fly. Open your eyes, you can fly. You can fly. You can fly. You can fly.
Yay, that was beautiful. Oh, thank you. What beautiful. You are such a great addition to our One Heart, One Night family. I'm so glad that you've joined us.
Me too. Glad to be here.
A fun bunch.
I see that.
All right. Well, I want to invite anybody that wants to say anything to unmute and just chime right in. Anything about just how you are, about the service, anything.